Hello, BookTube. I've got a little bit of mail for you today on a bright, sunny Saturday where the weather forecast is saying the temperature is going to get to 80 degrees Fahrenheit here, which would be really nice. That would mean that I'm not freezing cold when I'm outside for more than 5 minutes. That would be really nice. It hasn't happened inside the house yet. But I've got some mail for you. Here we have 1 day more to go. Tomorrow is the 20th of April. Tomorrow is Easter Sunday, but it is also Hitler's birthday. And it is the day when the executive orders that Donald Trump made on his first day in power about whether or not to invoke the Alien Sedition Act, whether or not to invoke the Insurrection Act, whether or not to invoke martial law, ultimately invoke martial law, allegedly because of an emergency on the southern border or fentanyl or whatever the stupid rationalization is. Tomorrow those executive orders run out. And when he made those executive orders, he told a couple of his flunkies in his cabinet, a couple of his quislings in his cabinet, to work up their position papers on whether or not he was authorized to use the military to shoot protesters in the legs, to use the military on his own people. They will give him those reports if they haven't already. Those reports, of course, will tell him you are allowed to do anything you want at all. So there are going to be massive protests all across the country today. There are going to be operatives of Steve Bannon at those protests today. Will they throw Molotov cocktails? Will they kill people? Will they justify the actions that Trump is going to take tomorrow? He's going to take those actions regardless, I think. But we have one pleasant, lovely, premature summer day before that day, before April 20th. So let's make the most of it, shall we? So the first thing we have, the first article that we have is the Martha's Vineyard Gazette. This is a full-sized, broad-scale newspaper that everybody always starts at the back. Everybody starts reading the Gazette on the back, these 3 columns in the back. I would love to have a regular column for the Vineyard Gazette, but I have the next best thing. I write reviews for them. And that's always wonderful. This is a newspaper for the island of Martha's Vineyard off the coast of Massachusetts. It's an island that I know really well. I've spent a lot of time tramping around every inch of the vineyard. So it's an absolute delight to be a book reviewer for the Gazette. That is an absolute delight. Of all the things that I could ask, this is one of them. This would be one of them. The Des Moines Register would be another one. But this is one of them. Also the TLS, where I've never written. I've never published anything in the Des Moines Register under my own name. I've never published anything in the TLS except letters in the letters column. Those are two nice goals as I approach 30. But being in the Vineyard Gazette is wonderful. It's been a little bit off because it's been in the off season. There aren't as many books. There aren't as many people. But I'm still on the books. And then the other periodical is the New Yorker with a contemptible cover. Sometimes the New Yorker covers are works of art. This is contemptible. It's, oh, that clown Donald Trump. Oh, he's so funny. Just disgusting. But I looked at the table of contents. I haven't looked at any of the issue yet. But I looked at the table of contents, and there's an article, a review of a book. Of course, the book section is where I immediately go. Margaret Talbot, who's usually really good, is reviewing a book, and the tagline for it is Fetal Personhood and the Anti-Abortion Movement. And that's going to be very interesting to me. The whole subject is very interesting to me. I'm very happy that we have passed beyond the point of 2013, 2014, 2015, where if you're a man, you're not allowed to talk about the subject of abortion. I'm very glad that we're past that point. I'm sorry that we got past that point in the wrong way instead of the right way. Don't say that I didn't warn you. I said back then that if institutions and people keep knuckling under to these far-left ideologue censors, these Twitter politics censors who are telling you what you can and cannot talk about and calling you a colonialist, if billion-dollar companies and every normal person keeps knuckling under to these pronoun in the bio weirdos, then if you don't eradicate them from society, then something will come along that will eradicate them from society in a much worse way, and that will be fascism. Fascism can also get rid of such people, but you don't want that as a solution because it gets rid of everybody else too, all the normal people. Well, companies kept knuckling under to those censors. You can't say this, you can't say that. You can't work here unless you apologize to every person here who's not white, even though you've never met them before. And you can't work here unless you specify your pronouns in your bio as if you have pronouns of your own. You can't work here. In other words, it's material. The penalty for not doing what we want, what we tell you, is material. You will lose your job if you don't do this, what we tell you. That was noxious and horrible. It deserved complete refutation at the moment when it started to gain power, and it didn't get it. And I said, if it doesn't get it that way, it's going to get it in a much worse way, by a fascism that says, remove your pronouns from your bio line if you work for any level of the federal government, sure, but also remove the Department of Education. And we don't want that solution. We want the other solution, but no. But now that has happened, a man can talk about the subject of abortion. And when you talk about the subject of abortion, fetal personhood becomes extremely interesting. It is an extremely interesting subject. Fortunately, all outside of social media, I've known a lot of women who could talk about this subject with me without getting, vein-poppingly furious that I have the effrontery to talk about it at all. If a fetus in a womb raises its hand to block its eye from bright light, if a fetus in a womb starts keeping time to music that you're playing in the living room, if a fetus in the womb burps and then laughs because the burp amused it, if a fetus in a womb has a different blood type and different fingerprints from the mother or the father, I say it really doesn't matter. Ultimately, it doesn't matter if that at that moment that fetus could live on its own outside its mother's body. It really doesn't matter at that point. That is a separate person. And you, as the mother in whose womb that person is gestating, have no more right to decide to kill that person than a nurse in an intensive care unit has to kill a patient who's comatose on a bed. I believe that is an opinion that you can have about abortion, whether you're a man or a woman. That is a person. At that point, that is a person. And you no longer, it doesn't matter where that person is, you no longer have the right to terminate that person's life, period. That would, I guess, is what is meant by fetal personhood. I'll have to read the article to see. I don't know if I've read the book. Most books on abortion I've found to be unreadably partisan one way or the other, so that you either have to say, on one end of the spectrum, see, I'm always talking to you people because we're all in the same boat. Most of us are in the same boat. We're in the middle here. But we are being completely governed by the edges. On one end of the spectrum are the people who say that it's my body, my choice, and yes, this thing is gestating inside me, but I don't care anything. I care, obviously, but I get to say whether or not it lives or dies at any point in the pregnancy, from the very beginning when it's the size of a period on a printed page to the very end. And on the other end of the spectrum, you have people saying that it's never your choice, that it's never your choice at all, that it's never just a health issue. It's a person with a soul, and you're not allowed to do that at all. In fact, it would be murder even to use contraception. Those are the two extremes, I think, of this incredibly contentious subject. Those are the two extremes. On one hand, people saying, nope, every sperm is sacred, as Monty Python said. And on the other end, people equally extreme saying men can't talk about this at all, in any way, in any capacity, ever, under any circumstances. It's entirely the woman's choice. Well, no, I don't think so. I'm a man, and I don't think so. Once the thing gestating inside your womb is a separate individual person with a nascent personality and personal reactions to things, then it's not a medical decision anymore, I think. Anyway, it's a big contentious subject, so we'll see what this has to offer. I will eventually read the rest of the magazine. I do read the rest of the magazine. I start with the stuff that I know I'm going to like, or at least not hate, and then I read the rest. I start with the book's coverage, and then I move on from there. But I will not only read it, I will probably also write about it. I write about the New Yorker fairly regularly. On my revived literary blog, Steve Reads. I write about the New Yorker regularly, and regularly isn't good enough. I really do want to write about every issue of the New Yorker, dissect every issue. I don't always get around to it, but I'm going to try to do that. So I will start with last week's issue because this one is getting to me on the weekend, and then move on to this one. But anyway, those are the periodicals. My, that periodical run got a little contentious. Sorry. I know we're not supposed to mention politics, religion, or abortion. We're not supposed to mention any of those things in polite company, but this isn't polite company. Besides, you're not paying any attention to me. Anyway, I believe that among friends, we're all friends, and we're all opinionated friends. We don't have to agree with each other to stay friends. I think we can have a talk about anything. So anyway, let's move on. Let's move on to the mail. Just a couple of packages, and then we'll be done. And then once we're done, the Bean and I are going to test this whole theory about whether or not it's actually warm outside. I don't believe it myself, but we're going to test it and see. Okay. All right, this is the finished copy. This comes out in early June. This is the finished copy of... How are we going to do this so I don't block Her Majesty? She's doing this again. She's doing the whole face thing again. This is the finished copy of James Crossland's book, Rogue Agent. From Secret Plots to Psychological Warfare, the untold story of Robert Bruce Lockhart. So this is 2 days in a row with spies. Let's see here. The startling adventures of secret agent in Moscow during World War I and the Russian Revolution. This book is the story of a riveting life of maverick spy Robert Bruce Lockhart. Diplomat, conspirator, intelligence gatherer, and propagandist, and charmer. That's him right there. Rogue. This book tells us the colorful... Okay, this book is not any of those things. That is called a dangler. This book is not any of those things. But anyway, this book tells the colorful story of London's key agent in Moscow during the first half of the 20th century, Sir Robert Bruce Lockhart. Sir Robert Bruce Lockhart, who lived from 1887 to 1970, was an impressive figure who played a vital role in both world wars. He was a man who charmed his way into the confidences of everyone from Leon Trotsky to Anthony Eden. A man whom the influential press baron Lord Beaverbrook, always trouble saying that name, Lord Beaverbrook, claimed could well have been Prime Minister. And yet Lockhart died almost forgotten and near destitute, a Scottish footnote in the pages of history. But don't all Scottish people think they die that way? Don't they all? I mean, Robert the Bruce probably thought... It's a shame they won't remember me. So did they all think that way? I swear, for persecution complexes, they've got the Irish beat all hollow. This book is the first biography of this gifted yet habitually flawed maverick. Is that true? You readers in the UK, especially you readers in the UK who are older than 50. Is that true? Or was there a biography in the 70s? This book chronicles his many exploits, from his time as Britain's agent in Moscow and his role in a plot to bring down the communist regime, to his leadership in the Political Warfare Executive, a secret body responsible for disinformation and propaganda during World War II. Exploring his unorthodox thinking and contributions to the development of psychological warfare, as well as his hedonistic lifestyle, late nights, and many affairs that left him in a state of perpetual debt and emotional turmoil, this book presents the thrilling and dramatic tale of this unconventional war hero. And the author works in international history at Liverpool John Moores University, and is the author of 3 books, but this is the first book of his to appear in America. And it appears just in time, because next year, this will be the story of a villain. He spied against Moscow, so he'll be. You won't be allowed to publish this in America, unless you are criticizing him the whole time. But now I want to know: are there picture inserts? We've got this one studio photograph, but if he led a hedonistic lifestyle, I'd like to know that he carried it off. Do we have another picture of him? We have all sorts of pictures here. There's Lord Beaverbrook. Okay, we've got all sorts of pictures of his adversaries. And look at that, all of his paperwork. Look at that. How fantastic. Oh, these true spy books are so good. They're so interesting. Oh, no, we have him in his later years writing at his desk. Don't tell me this is the only picture of him as a young man. Well, anyway, this comes out in early June. Fantastic. I'm going to read this tonight. I've got a bare month. It's almost a bare month to go until early June, so I'm going to read this tonight. I'm a sucker for this kind of thing, for true spy books. And then we have another package, and then we'll be done. What is this next one? Is it from one of you? Would it be from one of you? It's got some sort of homegrown note in it. That's usually a bad sign. What have we got here? Oh, how apropos. Oh, okay. Great. This is a novel by Julia Spiro called Such a Good Mom. Look at that cover. And this, it came with a note. This is from my editor at Martha's Vineyard Gazette. This is the next book I'm commissioned to review. How wonderful to get the two of them at the same time. Okay, great. So let's find out about this. It's kind of an interesting cover because I don't know if you can tell there's a woman on the sand dunes. Probably this takes place on the vineyard, but the sky is clearly paint. So this is a painting. I like it. I like the effect that it has. I don't like the big block letters, but I like the effect that it has. Let's see what we have here. So this is going to be a $28 hardcover. It's probably out already. The Gazette's not all that big on punctuality. With a healthy newborn baby, a devoted husband, a successful career, and a busy life on Martha's Vineyard, Bryn Nelson should be the happiest she's ever been. But Bryn is struggling. Her husband Ross grows more distant by the day, and the challenges and exhaustion of postpartum make Bryn feel like she's slowly losing pieces of herself to motherhood. Pieces that she might never get back. But it's summer on the vineyard. Oh my God, if you've never experienced summer on the vineyard. Especially far away from the tourist places. But it's summer on the vineyard, a beacon for wealthy visitors, and a place so beautiful that it seems immune to tragedy and crime. Except for locals like Bryn, who know all too well that tragedy can strike at any point. And this time it hits close to home when a friend of the family is found washed ashore dead. Bryn's already hectic life is turned upside down when Ross is arrested for the crime. Bryn is left reeling with more questions than answers. Her only path forward is to find out who really killed Cecilia Buckley, even if it means it was her husband. She's not sure who she's to trust anymore. And with a dizzying, endless cycle of sleepless nights, diapers, and bottles, Bryn's not even sure she can trust herself. But she won't stop until she finds the truth. Oh, come now, any of you who have been mothers, or parents of any kind, how are you supposed to solve a murder mystery when you've got a newborn baby? The mystery is you trying to figure out why you walked into this room, because you can't remember for the life of you. Best-selling author Julia Spiro is known for writing characters readers instantly connect with. In this book, she brings real, layered Martha's Vineyard life through the eyes of a new mom trying to get her family out of the eye of the storm that is a murder investigation. Wow, interesting. I wonder if she did like ride-alongs or had long depositions with the Martha's Vineyard PD. I wonder if she did to figure out how they would go about a dead body washing up on shore. So this is her third book. She lives year-round on the vineyard with her partner, her son, and their 2 rescue dogs. Okay. All right. Well, I don't need to worry about the disposition of this book because this is my next review for the Vineyard Gazette. So actually I will read both of these tonight. It's kind of rare, but I don't want to block the bean. I will read both of these tonight. One just for the fun of it, and one to get to work on a review. Great. Fantastic. So that's good. The Martha's Vineyard Gazette, I should clarify, much as we said yesterday with Smoke Signals, with Big Canoe, Martha's Vineyard Gazette is a local paper. It is outside of some of the vacation spots in Florida and in California. It is probably the local paper with the highest number of multimillionaires as it's in its circulation, but it is still a local newspaper. There are local stories, local town councils, that sort of thing. And I mentioned yesterday when we were talking about Big Canoe that an arts editor in such a situation has a choice what to do. You can either decide, well, my art section is small, my circulation is very small, but I'm going to write about art just in general. I'm going to get someone to review the new HBO series that everyone's talking about. I'm going to get someone to go to the nearest big city. I'm not going to go to our local theater for our local rep of Death of a Salesman. Instead, I'm going to pay someone to go to the nearest big city and see the big show that's getting headlines there. Or if you're dealing with books, I'm going to review new releases. I'm not going to worry about who wrote them or where they wrote them. You can do that. Or you can say, no, I want the whole paper is local. I want my section to be local as well. And that's what my editor does at the Gazette. That's the choice that he makes. He wants only books that are about the vineyard or by vineyard residents, frequent vineyard visitors, people who have a vineyard history, something like that. That's fine by me. I think either one of those visions is legitimate. In my life, as a roving freelance writer, a roving freelance editor, I have turned down jobs based on that kind of division. Because I'm not interested in doing what the job. My editor at the Gazette is a great guy. He does a great job every single week. But I'm not interested in that, in doing his job. So when word of mouth, these things are never listed, but when word of mouth has made me known, I've been sitting across the table with somebody who said, might be you. I mean, I know you can do the job, and I know you'll be reliable, and that's not easy to do. We don't want to. Nobody cares about the arts section of this paper, but I don't want to hand it off to somebody who's just going to ruin it. It might be you. There have been times in my life where such offers have been made to me, and I've had to turn them down because I know that the ethos of the paper is that this must be local coverage, and I have no interest in doing that. It's a miracle, just a miracle, that a print newspaper that didn't care to do it that way just dropped a book editorship into my lap this late in life. It's amazing to me that I got that back. It's amazing to a lot of people that I came back into reviewing. Just in general, it's not usually done. But to come back into reviewing and back into book section editing, that usually doesn't happen. And yet I have the smallest book section in the country in a print newspaper. Now, I'm not saying I love Big Canoe. I'm not saying that I wouldn't seriously consider if a bigger newspaper offered me a bigger section. It would not be a book section. That's the amazing thing about Big Canoe, is that that's almost not done. Outside of, the Wall Street Journal on Sunday, Washington Post on Sunday, the New York Times on Sunday, USA Today maybe. But outside of those, you won't find a paper usually that has a dedicated book section with its own editor. You just won't. If a much bigger newspaper, it's not going to happen, of course, because print newspapers are dying. But let's say the Des Moines Register, the aforementioned Des Moines Register, for instance, or even smaller than that. What's the current paper in the Quad Cities? The Cedar Rapids Gazette. Let's say that the Cedar Rapids Gazette were to come to me, the editor-in-chief there were to say, I'm losing my arts editor. We don't have a dedicated book section, and we're not going to have one. But I'd like to offer you this job. I've watched what you did at Big Canoe. It's amazing. I really like it. I'd like to offer you this job. I know that you're reliable. I know that you're experienced. And also the folks at Big Canoe report a spike in subscriptions, and we'd like that here too. So I'd like to offer you this job. You'll be arts editor, so you'll be in charge of a staff of maybe 5 people, and it will be all the arts, not just books. But are you interested? I'm not saying that my love of Big Canoe would prevent me from even thinking about such a thing. I've been an arts editor a lot more often than I've been a books editor. But still, either way, you're still going to have those two philosophies to deal with. Which way are you going to go? And I might be tempted, but I don't know. The purely local beat, I've done that before. Occasionally, I have had to do that before. And it's having, the prodigy's mother come to the office to question you about one critical line in a review. My God, put a gun in my mouth now. So I don't know. I don't know how I would react to that. I don't think it's going to happen. Like I said, it's a dying industry. But it's alive and well in this mail haul, isn't it? I not only got the magazine, but I got the book that I'm going to write for in that magazine. That's terrific. And this one, Rogue Agent, will just be Open Letters Review, the online literary journal where I am one of the editors, where I can review new releases and do. So there's that venue, there's this venue, and then there's another venue, which is this thing, for my literary blog, Steve Reads, which David Murphy convinced me to revive on Substack. The link is always down below for Substack for $5 a month. A mere $5 a month. I am told, I am admonished by from a few different quarters, that I should be advertising Steve Reads more than I do. I'm told this. If every free subscriber became a paid subscriber to Steve Reads, I could quit the Box Factory tomorrow and write Steve Reads every day. But he convinced me that I could revive my literary blog, Steve Reach, which I had years ago. And oh my God, what a joy it is. What a joy. So we've got 3 different venues here to choose from. These are all going to go in 3 different places. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. This mail haul went long, but maybe it has gone long enough so that now outside is lovely. Is outside lovely? 80 degrees would mean not only no jacket, but no sweatshirt. It would mean I could walk around in shirt sleeves. Is that true? We shall see. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.